Welcome to the Never Been Promoted podcast and YouTube channel. I'm on a mission to help you cut the time to all the things that are holding you back so you can unleash your entrepreneur. Welcome to the Never Been Promoted podcast. I'm your host, Thomas Helfrich. We are on a mission to help entrepreneurs get better at entrepreneurship by cutting the tie to all the shit that holds you back. That's right. I said a bad word. It's okay. I think it's Thursday, and it's the first of these today. So let's get cheeky, people. Thanks for joining. If this is your first time here, that is our mission. We're really clear with it. We want to help you learn from other entrepreneurs' journeys, things they do, things they shouldn't have done. And you know, hear the successes and the struggle along the way, because it'll help you know that you're not alone here a little bit. And today we're going to talk about dog grooming with Aaryn Mistrot. I say Aaryn that way. It's Aaryn. We're gonna have some fun with this. Not Aaron, Aaryn. But you know, she was part of season 18 of The Blocks. She did pretty well there. I can't say how well, but she did pretty damn well there. And she's built a really big business with dog grooming. Used to be an attorney. We're going to bring her on here in a second. One thing first, shameless plug time. Go to youtube.com/@neverbeenpromoted. Do the subscribe. And if you listen to the podcast, take a second, please, and do a 5-star review. It means a lot to me. Actually, just leave it there. Leave it there. All right, enough shameless plugs. Aaryn.
Hey.
Am I the only one doing Aaryn, or is that now the thing for you too?
You know, my first grade teacher called me Aaryn. But other than that, everybody says Aaryn. Yeah.
Because ever since the what was it, the Key and Peele Aaron, you know,
yeah,
thing.
Yeah. My mom really liked, she got creative. She really liked the Aaryn spelled with an A instead of an E, but she didn't want it to be a boy, so she changed the O to a Y. She thought she was being so creative. We're
gonna do a little improv. We're going to take you back to the moment your mom did this. Right? She'd say, smell Sharpie. Aaryn.
That's what it is. We're going with that. She almost named me America, so I'm really happy to be stuck with Aaryn.
I mean, when people say God bless America, you're like, thank you. It's very kind of you.
Yes.
It's very kind of you. You do. I mean, you're in Texas. You're in Lubbock,
yes,
Texas?
I am in Lubbock, Texas, which is West Texas. So it's kind of in the Panhandle, more to the southwest corner of the Panhandle, pretty close to the New Mexico border, but deep West Texas. It's nice. Yeah. You can watch your dog run away for 3 days.
Oh wow, that is. I've never been to West Texas. I've been to the more metropolitan areas. We'll do this for me. So you're in Texas. So what's the one thing in Lubbock you should absolutely do? And this could be like, hey, listen, you know, like go to a bar or whatever. What is one thing you should also not do, which might be like wear a cowboy hat and you're not a cowboy? Like what are the two things that you should do? No shameless plugs here, unless that's the thing. But what are those two things?
Yeah, you should bring your dog to Tailored Tails, right? Obviously. But no, Lubbock is the birthplace, the home of Buddy Holly. So that's the big deal around here is Buddy Holly Museum, Buddy Holly, you know, all the things Buddy Holly. And so there's lots of live music and stuff down around, centralized around kind of the Buddy Holly area. So that's a cool, fun thing to do. And we also have a really cool windmill museum that's just amazing. You walk through all these windmills and stuff, and they have all these like model trains and things, which is pretty cool. So there's some cool stuff to kind of do. A ranching heritage museum, which actually rebuilt houses like prairie homes from the late 1800s and rebuilt them in this area called the Ranching Heritage Museum. And you get to walk through it, and it's really cool. So there's some really cool stuff to do. The thing I would say not to do, I don't really know that there's a thing not to do. I mean, Lubbock is a pretty, it's a pretty laid back area for kind of a semi-small town. I would say, okay, what not to do. The only thing I can think of is because, we're the home of Texas Tech University, and don't wear a UT hat in that area. University of Texas is kind of a rival. So that would be probably the only thing I could think not to do.
Tech.
Somebody's going to say something.
So does that mean Bobby Knight was there?
No.
Where did
Here?
he go? Wasn't Coach Knight from Indiana University?
Yeah.
He was your coach for a while?
I don't know. I should probably know that, but I don't.
You were lucky to have him. All right, enough about Lubbock. If you go to Lubbock, be cool, have fun, enjoy the scenery.
It's a nice place. It's a really nice place.
You have a dog, drop the dog off at your place.
Absolutely.
Do you want to take a minute to do your journey story? Start with the kind of where you are today with the business, and I'm going to interrupt you occasionally because there's some key points, because I know a little bit more because we spent some time together at the block season 8 here. Go ahead. I'll be quiet. You start.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, obviously I own Tailored Tails of Lubbock, which we are a holistic dog grooming facility, and we also have some boutique boarding and play care. But this has been, it's been, like you said, it's been a journey, and it's Tailored Tails has existed now for a little over 4 years. But prior to that, I just fell into dog grooming. It wasn't ever I didn't grow up going, I want to be a dog groomer. I want to work with dogs. I grew up on a cotton farm, but so our dogs were mostly, they were farm dogs. Some of them were like wild dogs.
They had a few thistles stuck in the fur.
Yeah, they would. I mean, I think we had one little matted thing that you couldn't even tell, like, which end was the head and which end was the butt. The dog was just so matted, and she would just dig a hole and kind of lay in it, and you couldn't touch her or anything, which was fine. She I don't know how she ate. I don't know how she did it, but she lived. She was like 15 when she died. So whatever she was doing it right. But so I didn't grow up really thinking about dog grooming. I wasn't like, I didn't have family that was into dogs or anything. It just sort of happened because I got married very young, which was very common in rural West Texas way back then. We won't say what year, but way back then. And I had children. So it was kind of, I wanted to go to college, and my grandmother kind of supported me in that, in wanting to go to school. But with children and everything else, it was really hard. And we owned a farm, so it was really difficult. And I would sometimes only do like 1 or 2 classes a semester, just trying to get through it while I was doing everything else. So it took me 20 years to get all the way through law school. But the thing that happened was I had to, I got divorced fairly young also, and was a single parent. So I had to figure out what I was going to do. And I fell into dog grooming. And when I very first did that, my very first grooming job was in this horrible, I was shoved in this cinder block concrete room and just given like 16 to 25 huskies and German shepherds a day just to bathe. And there was no like bathtub or anything. It was just a hose and a drain in the floor. I'm soaked from head to toe. And I mean, I was wet so long throughout the day, and I was wearing like rain boots and everything, but I was so wet that like the skin was peeling off my feet, and because they were wet all day, it was horrible. And I hated it. I absolutely hated it. I was like, who would do this? And I ended up, what happened was I got diagnosed with cervical cancer, and I was really young at the time. But I ended up having to have a complete hysterectomy and some other treatments. And I was single parent at the time. So I had to move home with my mom in Amarillo and get some help with my kids and everything while I was going through cancer treatment. And as I came out of that, I started looking for a job and wasn't even thinking about, what classes I was taking at that time.
So wait, if I can interrupt you. So
Yeah.
you'd gone to law school and you kind of backed up. So this was prior to law school?
Yeah, this is way prior. I'm still like trying to plug through community
Are you
college.
already divorced at this point as well?
Yes.
All right. So you got married at 12 and then so I just made up dates. And then you're trying to sort out life because you're like, oh, we had that backwards. You're supposed to get divorced in your 50s, not at 20. And then but you're different. You get a diagnosis of cancer. You got to go to the hysterectomy and all the the treatments and everything that goes with that craziness and the uncertainty of unknowing and all the squamous and all the things. I get it. All right, so you're through that, and now you're in the middle of college when this happens. You're trying to go to school.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm trying to look for a job because I'm coming out of cancer treatment and I'm starting to feel better and I can actually go back to work.
All right. So you're trying to find jobs. You're trying to just make life happen. Like you're trying to work and get to school and just not sit around and now you get okay.
Yeah. And at that point, I'm trying to move out of my mom's house, right? Because Yeah. So, and my kids were still fairly young at the time. I mean, I say my youngest was, I think, in kindergarten or first grade. So the job I fell into the quickest was dog grooming. And I really didn't want to do it because I had such a horrible experience. But what happened was this was a completely different experience. And I was able to kind of really get a feel for what it actually was. And it was workable for me. I was like, oh, I can do this job. Okay. This is
the cinder block one or just another place that you got a job?
This is a different place.
So you went from like the prison of dogs to the middle class of dogs. But
lower middle class, but yeah.
I'm assuming later on you're gonna be like, well, if this company's making it, doing that to their employees and the dogs, there's got to be room for more. I mean, that's got to be an opportunity spot right there.
And it's interesting you say that because what I actually did was, I worked there for a little bit of time, realized that I actually loved it and I learned a lot and I was managing that salon within like a year.
Oh, wow.
But
yeah, I
was like, yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I was like, I need my own place. I need my own salon. I can do this.
Do you have a bit of defiance disorder syndrome where you just don't like people telling you what to do?
No, actually, I don't have that.
I'm just wondering.
I probably did at that point though, because I was young. I was really feisty. Now I'm just like, please tell me what to do.
I don't work for you.
I'm like, anybody tell me what to do. I need instructions, very specific instructions.
You'd be you're a good franchise owner. You'd be a good franchise owner because you've made your business in a way that can be instructive. That's why it's so successful. We'll get there. I'm just having fun with you because
just read the instructions. That's all we need to do.
All right, please continue. So you've now managed place and you've made do you remember the moment when you made the decision though, when you're like, I'm gonna do like, do you know what I'm saying? There's usually like you've had a calling, like I think of my own place, I think I'd like to do this. Keep going through that because the moment when it happens, that's an important moment in life. Because I'm sure you remember.
It really is, and I think because when you're sitting there and you're running all the things, and you're in a position, and it doesn't matter what industry you're in, but you're in this position where you have kind of climbed as high as you could go, and you start to make suggestions going, this could be better this way, this could be better that way. And of course everybody's like, you don't know what you're talking about, we're never going to make those changes. And you start going, I know I could do this better. And I think that's really the moment where I know myself and probably a lot of other people go, it's time to do my own thing because I know I can do it better than what's being done. And
then you start going through what's going to help. Then this is like, and I love these moments. And interrupt you there. But when you have these moments of clarity that you're like, oh wow, I'm going to do this. Then it becomes like, what's in my way? I need money. I need to do this or that. So,
right. And also, I think
the timing of your law school though. So, and because you were a practicing attorney
we'll get there. We're not even there yet.
Okay.
No, we're not even there yet.
Skip over like the part where you were an attorney.
No. So because what happened, I mean, with that very first thing, what happened was I did my own thing. I got my own salon. I didn't have any capital, and I had this brilliant, you know, the way that I was going to do it was so different than anybody else had done it, and it was a wonderful philosophy. It was actually a really great way to do things as far as animal care. However, it was not financially sustainable. And so it only lasted about a year, and it failed. And so I was still, obviously started working for someone else again, and was still going to college. I'm like, okay, I've got to finish school. Like
Well, let me ask you. So you went through this, and I think a lot of people. This is all part of the people don't discuss, but that's why I do what I do, because I want to ask about this moment
Mhm.
when you see it's failing, it's not going to work, and you have the early hype of, oh, I'm a business owner, I'm going to do this, I got my money in, and then you see the math, it's not going to work. Tell me about that, because that's a hard emotion. It's one I have not yet gone through, only because I've pivoted it, but it's always there. It's always prevalent. Tell me about how you felt when you realized it and what you're gonna like. And just tell me about that moment, because that's one that many go through.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because, being on the side of a trade business, you always know that you have a backup plan. Like your whole life is not going to fall out from under you. I mean, they call it a trade for a reason. You can work from anywhere. You can go to people's houses and groom their dogs. You can kind of do all of these things as kind of a backup. So the feeling of my life is going to disappear is not really there, but it's more of like, why am I not smart enough to make this work? Where did I go wrong? Why is it not sustainable? And honestly, I kind of just felt like I wasn't prepared. I mean, you always have like these kind of self-doubt moments where you're like,
yeah,
I'm not smart enough for this. I'm not.
And this is where I think I love doing these little reflective moments, right? So it's not, and you and I both know this, it's not that you're not smart enough. What you realize is you're ignorant. You don't have enough information to use your brains and your intelligence to execute. And that's when people say fail fast, learn from it. That's it. You just you haven't been kicked in the face enough times to avoid the kick.
Exactly.
Or not to fall off the horse in the first place, or the dog. If you're riding the dog, by the way, it's mean unless you're a toddler.
Don't ride the dog.
But it's not. I used to do it to a Scotty Terrier, and I've never been a small child. And I was like, I'm probably hurting this thing. Anyway, that is, I think when people think and they quit, as long as you got back up and did something, you weren't losing. You just learned that, oh, if I do this again, I'm not doing this. I'm not buying that. I'm not renting this.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly right. And I tell other people, like whenever I'm talking to other salon owners and they're kind of, I'm kind of accidentally building a consulting business as well. But the thing that I tell them is, they're like, I'm so scared it's going to fail. And I'm like, that's okay. I mean, understand my first salon failed too. I mean, that doesn't mean that you're not good at what you do. It doesn't mean you're not a good dog groomer. It means you don't have enough. You don't have the experience. Like you said, I haven't been kicked in the face enough to know when to duck and weave, and I think that's so important to know that a lot of businesses fail. You do another one, you do something different. And that's
and the thing sometimes you don't realize, things are going well for you now. You don't realize you're also getting kicked in the face, but you probably don't even realize you're being kicked, right? There's probably things now you're like, oh, wow. You know what I mean? Like you're going to have like a second or third location, and then also you're going to get kicked in the face again.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
And it's like, oh, wow, why did I do that to myself? And so maybe a reflective moment from you is, what advice would you give someone listening going, hey, start small and prove the core thing? Or what would you recommend that you learned from that lesson that you applied on the second run?
I would say, I mean, when you are like we are, and you have this drive to want to build a business or build a company, and it almost always, everybody I've talked to comes from wanting to help others or wanting to, take care of dogs, for example, or you're super passionate. And when we're super passionate, we go, oh, you know what? I should start a, mobile margarita truck or whatever. And the idea train leaves the station and goes down a dirt road. And before you know it, you're like, oh my God, I got to have all these things. I'm going to do all these things and it's going to be so brilliant. And you end up not doing the main thing that you need to do, which is just do your thing. Do your thing for really good for one person.
Go ring that cash register and make them want to come back.
Yeah, exactly. Because they will tell people. I mean, 90% of our clientele here is word of mouth. I mean, we're maybe starting to climb up to 15% Google, but it's all word of mouth.
Yeah, I mean, yours being the size, how many is there? A couple million people there, even a million, maybe?
Not even. There's maybe 350,000.
So all you have is, did someone new move?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, yes and no. I mean, people get new dogs all the time. This is people that have never had a dog, or maybe they've only had labs and they've never had them groomed, and now all of a sudden they have a doodle. So, there's people that, are going to come that are from Lubbock.
Can I bring my cat in there?
Can
I bring my cats in?
We don't do cats.
I mean, can the dogs just eat the cats and be a tragic accident?
Oh, sure. Yeah, okay. We can make that happen for sure.
Cat violence is accepted. You heard it. All right. That's Texas for you, though. That's hard life right there. Okay?
Right. You got to do what you got to do. Yeah.
I don't think dogs do either, to be fair. I think they should be outside, and you should want that too, because there's more grooming involved.
Well, true. Yeah. I mean, they do need outside.
You went through your first salon. You worked somewhere. You tried it, and now you're like, all right. How did you get? How? At what point did you make the crazy decision that I'm going to be an attorney?
Okay, so I never wanted to. I'm from rural West Texas, so when I started college, the guy said, and again, we're not going to talk about what year this was, but the advisor was an older man, and he said, okay, so you're starting college. Do you want to be a nurse or a teacher?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I was like, that was the option. I was a girl. That was the option, a nurse or a teacher. That's what I had. So I did not want to be a teacher. That's what my mother was. So I was like, I'll be a nurse. So all this time I was trying to go to nursing school, and I kept flunking college algebra miserably. I couldn't get through it, and I couldn't get accepted to nursing school because I couldn't pass college algebra. And I was crying in the advisor's office one day, and she was like, have you thought of social work? And I was like, what is that? And she was like, it's all the things you really like about nursing school, but none of the stuff you don't like. And
none of the pay, which is great.
Yeah.
Great. And all the work and all the trauma, more hours, less pay. Fantastic job. Everyone.
Yeah. So she talked me into it just because I didn't have to pass college algebra. So I went down the social work path, and I loved it. And through that process, I was working for my internship was for the defense of public capital punishment defense in Texas. It was
they still execute people in Texas.
Yes, and there's mitigating factors that make it a crime that can warrant that sentence. And one of those crimes is the victim is 5 years or younger. And the 3 cases that I was working were all, deaths of a child 5 or younger. So through that process, was talking with, some of my professors in social work and stuff. And they were like, you should apply to go to law school. And I was like, what? First of all, I can't even pass college algebra. I'm not gonna get into law school. Fast forward, I did. I kind of did it at their advice, went to law school, and that's how I ended up in Lubbock. Because I went to Tech. And then I met my now husband at Tech, and he took a job. He's a CPA, and he took a job in New York. And he was like, I really think you should move to New York with me. And I was like, I'll come visit you, but no, I'm not moving to New York.
That would be such a culture shock from West Texas to New York. I think like you'd get there and be like, nope.
Yeah. Well, and crazy enough, I told him no, I wasn't going to do it. And then a year later I did it. So
there you go.
We lived in New York for 3 years, and I worked.
You're hell bent on being firm on your resolve. Oh no, right. I'm not doing it. I'll see you next week. Nobody
can say I'm not flexible, right? So, but that was, and you're right. It was a culture shock. It was really funny. I worked for a real estate law firm there, and it was so funny because I'm so ingrained West Texas manners, right? So I would, and somebody would say, you need to, if so-and-so calls, you really need to let me know. And so I would, and I'd go and I'd be like, so I'm so sorry to bother you. I just, so-and-so. And they're like, what do you want? And they would just yell and scream at me and throw things. Yeah, it was awful.
I love New York.
Yeah.
I actually like it. Thank you. Just tell me what you need. Thank you. Next.
Yeah, I was being rude by wasting their time, right? But
Isn't that weird?
For rambling with the apologies. And it's funny because that kind of grew on me. I got used to that. And so now I'm just like, I'm so direct, and I'm so, and so it's funny because my salon director and my director of operations, they'll tell the new hires, listen, she's not yelling at you. She's very direct.
She's just motivating you in a very direct and looks like she's fucking pissed all the time face.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Because I really like you being here, and I'm getting to work.
I'm so glad you're here. Yeah. So, but so it was funny, but how I kind of picked up that, and my husband teases me all the time and says, you go New Yorker when you're mad, but that was not my funnest part of my life, working there. I loved living in Manhattan, but working there was really difficult. And then I just didn't like law. And I loved real estate, but I just didn't like it. It was nothing about it was enjoyable to me. I got no satisfaction. I wasn't a litigator, but I got no satisfaction out of, getting these huge settlements. I just didn't enjoy it. To me, it was just kind of meaningless, and I missed dogs so much. So my husband, we're there 3 years. My husband gets a job then to teach at Texas Tech, to teach accounting, and also has kind of started a partnership there, a tax partnership here in Lubbock. So it made sense for us to come home. And I was like, oh, thank you. Take me back to the great nation of Texas.
In that moment too, you're like, did you feel like your world opened back up? Like people think New York is a land of opportunity, or America, but like specifically New York. But did you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to get back to that?
Yes, I just felt like, and it's funny because I got a job right away. Like before we even got home, I got a job right away at Tech, working with the lawyers in the EO office. And again, I worked there 5 months, and I'm like, I hate it. But
is that equal opportunity or errors and omissions?
Equal opportunity.
Okay, sure. Which could be the same thing, by the way.
Yeah, almost. But I the thing is that I still didn't like it. I still didn't like it at all, even though I was helping people. It just wasn't for me. And while I was there, though, the building that I was in, people had found out that I could groom dogs, and they just started asking me to groom their dogs. So I was doing that on the weekends at home, and then I started getting more and more and more. And I was like, you know what, I'm done. I told my husband, Brett, I'm like, I'm done. I don't want to do the law thing anymore. I just want to groom dogs.
Do you think you would have ever moved back if he hadn't suggested it?
Oh no. I mean, I always, because like I said, I wasn't super hyped about moving there anyway. So I was, really more on the line of, this is a temporary thing, right? Moving to New York and doing the whole thing. It was temporary. It was always set up to be kind of a temporary thing.
I
Because, you know,
hear people moving back. We just listened to Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey, and how he talked in that book about moving back to Texas, how it just kind of happened at a stoplight. It's like, I want to come back.
Yeah.
After like a weird family interaction too. So it's like, I don't know. It's just, I always ask these questions because sometimes where you think the opportunity is, it's right where you were, but you don't know that till you get some space between it to see it.
Right, exactly. Well, and a lot of people, you know, because when you grow up in West Texas, there's kind of this ideal that, this is just, it's a horrible place. We're so limited on opportunities and this and that. And I need to be in a big metroplex and do some, you know, and you just don't. I mean, you learn that. A lot of people learn that. And, you know, the joke in small towns, and I mean, like 2,000 people or less towns, in the rural towns in West Texas, the joke in that town is always, it's a black hole. You can leave, but it's going to suck you back in.
How do you,
but what it really,
in your town, you know, you're a pretty successful business. Do you find you have to navigate that success with humility, or it would turn off your customers? Like if you start rocking in with a Ferrari or something, they'd be like, oh, wow, she must charge too much for it. Do you have to, because a smaller town, there's perceptions a lot. Like everyone knows when you break wind on your porch. So it's like, you know.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, that is, I'm going to run into clients at Walmart or, you know, whatever. It's not really the good thing about this area is, especially, you know, if you're local and you start to be successful, everybody wants to help you do that. Everybody wants to be a part of that with you. Especially and they really are great about just, you know, like I said, word of mouth. Oh, this is the best place. And they, you know, and they really do, you know, one of my little show chihuahuas, Ruby, and I were in a Champion Energy commercial. And I had, you know, so many people go, I saw you on TV, you know, we're there for like 2 seconds, you know, but that was, you know.
Wait till they see you on The Block season 18. I may have positioned myself behind you every day, so I got airtime. I'm just going to leave it that way. I was like, I'm going to sit behind one of these two people. And Monica was on yesterday, so I was. I was like,
another Texan, by the way.
I was just going to make sure I was on airtime there. You know, sorry, just so conscious of time. So you've moved back. You said, I'm done with the law. What was the next? And did you already know I'm going to get back? I'm going to do this again, or what was the next step?
No, I was just already grooming dogs out of the house, which Brett thought was brilliant. He's like, oh, you can do this from home. This is great. And then I did a Shepherd D-shed in the house. And he was like, okay, you need a shop. Yeah.
He came home from that one. You're like, nope. Shopper.
He was like, yeah, you're done. Yeah, you're done doing this at home. And
so that's a big move. You decided to come out of the home, which now you're the nut you have to carry every month, and the personal financial risk of signing a lease and all this stuff becomes real. And now did you start going, oh shit, I failed this once. Am I going to do it? Did that fear, doubt jump in when the costs went up immediately for one decision?
No, when we discussed it, you know, I told him, I said, okay, you know, because he knew about my previous salon and everything. And I said, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it the right way. I'm going to do it right. Like it has to be done right, because I'm seeing the quality that's going on or the lack of quality, I should say. And so I wanted to be the quality and be the difference and kind of bridge the gap between the market that I was in was so outdated, and like none of them had done any continuing education. They weren't updated. I mean, when I started dog grooming, it was like little old ladies with, you know, smoking 5 packs of Marlboro Reds, shaving schnauzers, you know, and with their ashtray on their grooming table, you know, and it's come such a long way. Pet care in general has just come such a long way.
It's a huge business. I mean, in the last 20 years, it's grown like it's growing industries in the world, or at least the U.S.
Yeah, and so that's the thing, right? And nobody was doing that. They were all still stuck in that time frame, and I told him, I'm like, if I'm going to do this, it's got to be right. I've got to be able to provide that quality. And that's the most important thing to me. And then, so I didn't really think about like, what if it fails? Because I kind of, in a weird way, had already made myself comfortable with, okay, if it fails, I do something different,
See, that's great.
because
That's
I'd been down that path already.
and you're also going, I've worked for a horrible place. I had a really good model
Right.
that had a few things broken. And you can, and
Mhm.
you're maybe don't people because they're just maybe just listening. You're very thoughtful, meaning like you think about the problem solution and really examine it. I could tell that from how you kind of present it and do stuff. And so, and it's not that huge of a town. So your competition, you can walk in and be like, I'm going to improve over that. I'm going to have a
Oh,
better
yeah.
staff. It's like the whole thing.
Yeah.
And maybe
Yeah.
take a moment. Let's tell me about the day you launched and how, like, maybe like, hey, we picked the spot. Tell me about the day you launched a little bit, because I want to get to your team, because I think you've done a really interesting job of creating a very diverse team of people, and that's been part of your brand, is that awesomeness. So talk about, how did you pick the spot and how did you launch? How long did that take?
Oh, it's so fun. Okay, so we picked a spot based on the fact that they were going to do the most important thing with grooming, of course, is plumbing. Our business is not really dogs; it's really plumbing. Without proper plumbing,
I never even thought about that. I would never have known that.
We got nothing without plumbing. My plumber is my savior. So in fact, Brett calls him my boyfriend, because he is the most important person in my life. But I signed the lease with this company because they were going to do the whole build out for no charge. And
oh, wow. Nice. That's so build it into your lease payment instead for people.
Right.
If you have no upfront, you just pay more per month to get there.
Exactly. So
wow, that's so helpful for a capital operating perspective.
Yeah, for sure. And it was a small location, but it was a new shopping center. It was going to be great. And we signed the lease November of 2019.
Good timing.
We were supposed to open March 1st of 2020. And as we all know, COVID shutdown happened in February. And I thought, oh dear God, what have we done? The build out took a little bit longer, so we ended up actually opening July the 2nd of 2020.
You actually probably had to did yourself a favor, because you didn't go you had a fresh start again when people kind of reopened. Texas specifically was kind of like Georgia. We got through this craziness a little faster than others.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Florida being the leader, hands down the leader on that one.
What was crazy is dog grooming was seen as essential because people were home with their pets and they were freaking
not tattoos.
That their dogs were
disappointing.
Right. And they were people were going adopting, the shelters were empty. People were home. They could spend time training a dog or whatever. But the thing is that we had a hard time getting equipment as well. So, we actually opened, it's funny. I always, the whole time I was at the blocks, I'm thinking, lean. I didn't have a choice. Only one of my tubs came in. I was lucky to get that one. We half of the stuff didn't come in. We had one kennel bank. It was just me and my son that started. And we opened up with a third of the equipment we initially purchased, right? We opened up July 2nd, and we took walk-in appointments for 2 weeks, and then we were booked for 3 months out.
That's got to feel good. I mean, talk about that feeling when you were like, oh my God.
It was terrifying. Because I was like, I got to hire somebody. And, I was just scrambling. And that's kind of the way it went for the first 2.5, 3 years. It was just growth. And which was great. But, everybody always, oh, it's a great problem to have. And I hate when people say that, because sometimes that problem is it's uncharted territory, right? I mean, I know how to fail. My first one failed. I know how to
imposter syndrome. Now you're like, oh, I knew I could do it. Now you're like, oh shit, what do I do?
Yeah, now I'm doing it. Shit, what? Somebody help me. I felt like I was, bucketing water out of my sinking lifeboat.
You built a business through COVID, which means, you had to be lean, you had to be focused, and you guys, and just from your conversations, super hyper focused on customer service and making sure people are kind humans
Absolutely.
that understand and accept different people. So you have a very diverse group, which is weird because in Texas, I don't think Texas is the most accepting of diversity outside of maybe Austin, specifically West Texas,
Yeah.
not. So can you talk about
That's
that? 'Cause I
whatever-
think that's core to your brand, right? I mean,
It is. And I think that's right. That's everybody's perception kind of Texas, is that Austin is this kind of, hippie stronghold, and that all the rest of Texas is just very, Trump supporting whatever. But we actually, there's a lot of diversity, and I didn't have any intention to do that. My intention in hiring and what I did, number one, was because I had seen the quality here and what was going on in my market prior to opening. I did not want to hire people with experience.
nice.
It didn't make
Did you hire
sense
for
to me.
goosebumps? It made you feel good?
No. What I did was I hired younger people who were interested in working with dogs.
Yeah, it's a good start.
And the way that I hired is I would give them a trial, what I called a contract week. So they can come in, because working with dogs and loving dogs is two different things, right? And this business is not for everybody. You're going to get anal glands. You're going to be pooped on. You're going to be peed on. You're going to, have hair in your nose and your eyes and
everywhere. You had anal glands. I'm going to look that
Anal
up later. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's great. It's
I've
great.
never even said those words together. Anal glands.
Calm down.
I'm
I'll
going to
tell
use
you
it
all about
as
it.
a form of an insult for people. Like, such an anal gland.
Yeah, you can. That's great. That's a great way to use that. Yeah.
You gave me something new today. I've learned. We can end the show now. Anal gland.
Anal glands. That's all you need to know.
An anal gland.
Yeah. But yeah, so we actually, I give them the contract week to kind of get their hands straight. In fact, I have a new employee doing a contract week right now. I'm not going to go through the process to put you on payroll and do all of this. At the end of the week, we're going to sit down and talk about what you love about it, what you hate about it, and through that process, they get to know the rest of our team. They get to ask them all the questions, do you hate your managers? Do you love your managers? And what that process does is it helps us find the right fit, and it helps that person discover if this is the right fit for them.
You've ever had a new employee come in and be like, hey, have you ever thought of doing this? And like, they're like, you're like, huh? Like, have you ever had an employee with like a given operational improvement in their first week, like to do that? Like, I've always wondered if like that happens, because
I'm
probably not in
not in the first week, but definitely there's been so many implemented changes over the years that the employee came up with. My director of operations she's one of the greatest ones. I wish I could have taken her to the blocks with me, but she had to run this. But that was, she comes up with brilliant things all the time. And because I hire people with no experience, they come from different backgrounds. They come from different career paths that they previously had, or some of them it's their very first job. But everybody brings something to the table, right? So it's definitely something that I have always taken into consideration, and I never introduce somebody that works with me as Megan. Megan, she works for me. I say, this is Megan, she works with me, because I can't do what I do without her.
Well, so when you hired someone, and I think this is a good takeaway for someone listening, hire for alignment, propensity to learn, whatever the job is. If it needs creativity, if it needs someone who's really good at just executing, like, you don't want to put a creative in I need you just to run the role, like wrong fit, right person, wrong seat, maybe. But if you need them up front to deal with customer problems creatively, like, hey, you have these range of things you can do for an unhappy customer, that's a good role.
Yeah.
But they had life experience.
Right.
They didn't have dog grooming experience. And I think there's a difference between those two things that people should realize, that you don't hire someone with zero life experience sometimes, unless they are aligned in some other ways, because you don't need to teach them life experience.
Right. No, and that's not what I'm here for. I don't have time for that. But the culture that you create has to be like, what I've done, and I did it completely unintentionally because I wanted to train into a group of people the passion for what we do and the passion for the quality and the knowledge base behind it with the continuing education, like certified trainers, certified nutritionists, certified skin and coat estheticians, and to continue that education. Finding the niche within the dog world that they are passionate about and fostering that.
Yeah.
And being able to watch them learn more, get passionate, and grow and succeed. I mean, that's what makes it great. That's what makes it great for me.
Well, it makes it more of a, I don't call it a career.
Makes it great for them.
Yeah. And it's not, I don't know if there's like career paths, but like, if it could be a life path, like, hey, listen, you're learning something about how to improve yourself to do better. And that makes people want to work there who are looking for that in their phase of their life to have a good place. Just maybe look into the future. Like you're not just stopping at, you've built a multi-million-dollar business already, 4 years, right? You're looking at other locations, but you did something else too. What was the product line that you're talking about?
Okay. So, well, and it came about from I saw a need. I have a couple of products in the work, but efficiency is kind of our goal. So we started making our own shampoo because we didn't like all of the additives that were in the shampoos that we were using. And we wanted to be able to make our own to further increase the quality, plus save us money. I mean, shampoo is very heavy and it's expensive. We were getting a 55-gallon drum in of the base that we use today. And I mean, it's $1,000 and shipping is $350, so it's heavy. We wanted to be able to make it in-house. The other product is our, that I developed with a couple of veterinary friends of mine is, it's kind of a dry shampoo. And it came about from a skunk perspective. Skunks spray dogs all the time. We know that. Most of us have experienced that if we've had a dog. But the thing is, you can go online and it's going to tell you all these ways, all these things to wash your dog in to get rid of the skunk smell. And the thing is that skunk spray is oil. So washing it with anything is not going to work. So this is a dry shampoo and it's made up with, it really has no soap in it. It's made with absorbing powders, plus it has powders that are good for the skin that are all natural oils in powder form. So frankincense is very healing. So it's not going to dry out the skin. It's not going to make it bad. It's very good for the dog's skin. Plus, and then it has like some lavender and a few other things to make it kind of add to the scent, but there's things that remove the oil. That
you build a product for the purposes of improving the outcome for your participants, for the people who come there. So, they can only get that there, which is a nice hook. Right. But then you're taking it further where you're like, hey, I'd like to distribute and actually sell this, which is ironic. That might be the biggest business part you have will be that.
Well, and then, and now the consulting thing just sort of started happening. So, I was on a consult earlier this week, spent a day with them, and these kids are doing, they're doing great. They have their little at-home grooming business going, and they want to expand. They want to grow. They want to get an actual brick and mortar salon, or they're debating on mobile and these kind of things. So being able to help them kind of plan that out or think of questions they haven't thought of, and kind of play devil's advocate for them. That was super rewarding to me. And so I don't want to kill that because that's fun too. So there's a lot there. I have a lot on my plate, but the software change we're going through right now, I want to kill myself over.
Well, we just if time, but so you learn some stuff, you implement it, you make a mess. Sounds like you do this a lot. You get to the next stage. Like, what can we do next?
Yeah.
Listen,
sometimes it's a mistake. Sometimes it's a huge mistake. Huge.
What is? And you got to learn how to get out of it if he does. Yeah. I really appreciate Aaryn coming on today. If you're ever in Lubbock, you got to come, at least got to stop in there and check out what they got. Like, right?
Yeah, for sure. Come by. It's going to be awesome.
Since not everyone's from Texas or makes it a trip to go to Lubbock, like there's only so many weekends. I got to think of the reasons I would be going there. Probably to speak. You'd be like, yeah, I want you to come in and speak at the Rotary Club. I don't know. I'm making it up.
Yeah, sure.
I'm coming to Lubbock. That's what I'm doing. But besides that, do people just get a hold of you at Tailored Tails of Lubbock? And if they want to try the shampoo out, they can do that, or how what's your call to action? So to speak?
So it's probably not going to actually be for sale to the public until next year.
Well,
But
the
you can
urgency.
definitely like keep in touch with us. You can go to our Facebook page. You can see lots of cool grooming videos on our TikToks and our Instagram as well. Go to our website. We almost always post new upcoming things there. There are contests you can participate in and win cool prizes we send you and just stuff like that. So you can be involved with Tailored Tails and also, get some really good at-home grooming tips too, because we do that as well.
Aaryn, thanks so much for coming on. You rock.
Thanks, Thomas. I miss you so much.
See you soon at the grad school for blocks. We're both going to be
Absolutely.
there. All right, cool. Thank you so much. I'm going to put you in the periwinkle room. I'll be right back. Aaryn, thank you so much for coming on. You got to come check out the site. Here, I'll put it up one more time just as a closer here. Tailored Tails of Lubbock.com. Aaryn's she's got way more to the story. I just wish we had more time. I'll have to talk to the guy who owns this podcast, see if we can extend it at some point. He's a bit stickler for the time. Thank you so much for watching and listening. If this was your first time here, I hope it's the first of many. And come back and get out there in the meantime to get out there and go unleash your entrepreneur. Go cut a tie to something holding you back. Take a step. Get going.